So what does the unhealthy version of SI look to you?
Okay, I now going into functions I don't use or understand, I will only be able to give really basic answers to these ones, I feel. So unhealthy SI, from my experience with SI users, seems to be like, you know, having those ways of making sense of the tangible world that have worked in the past and categorizing that data really neatly within oneself, but then expecting others to also implement those same categories, or expecting others to apply those same principles that you've got from like traditions or whatever it is, your past, into their life as well, and trying to, so like a classic one would just be like, I don't know, like, oh, you need to do things this way, like that's the best way to do them. And then like your question,
this is always going to be the best way, like, you know, over time. Over all the time.
And then if you have some NI user or anyone just being like, why is that the best way? Like, let's unpack that. Then like being like, oh, just because that's how it is. Rather than like I sometimes don't understand when SIs are just sort of like have that response, because I'm like, oh, haven't you sat and questioned why that's the best way? Haven't you looked at like all of the other different ways you could do it?
Yeah.
Haven't you accepted that there's multiple ways to do things? So I think, yeah, having those categories for yourself where you feel safe and happy, but like understanding that everyone is different and having a different they have a different process, and they might need to explore because they use, you know, an exploring function or a deep diving function, you know. So
for sure. Yeah. And I guess on the other side of that, like the healthy side of SI could be sometimes you do need to keep up with, you know, the standards and the traditions or something, for whatever reason. And so having that urge to want to stick with the familiar, sometimes you do have to stick with, you know, what's familiar instead of, you know, going all out unconventionally when it's not appropriate.
Yeah. And being okay with that as well, being like, yeah, I use SI, I'm not going to put that on other people, but like, it's okay that I have these understandings and ways of categorizing things, and it's not a problem with me. Because I think with your top function.
But yeah, and another thing about healthy SI though is, or SI in its healthy form, is that they know how to be organized in a way that will be, I guess, useful and not just being organized for the sake of being organized, but actually like, you know, keeping things in order so that, you know, future implications down the road, like they'll be prepared for all the sorts of different possibilities. It's like that SI-NE connection. It's like having that awareness of all the different possible ways things can go wrong, or things you want to avoid, so that you can stick with the SI, the same traditional sensory things that you're doing to prevent all those possible any complications that could arise. Yeah, of course. Again, it's a matter of like balancing both sides of the axes in order to get at the healthy version. But yeah, basically that's the pros of SE: organization and structure. It can, I guess, hold strong across time depending on context, but at some point you have to know when to break tradition and do something unconventional when
exactly. Yeah, exactly.